Hey, baby, it's your old friend Werewolf Wally here on Collinsport's 897 AM Boss Radio. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Werewolf Wally, and you know who you are. Today on WOOF, Collinsport, Maine, we're going to have some howling good music today. Well, first off, we're going to start you off with what's been number one here in Collinsport for the last 2,476 weeks. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's Bad Moon Rising again. Oh, meantime, roll the Collinsport After Dark promo. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Somebody answer me. Go. Welcome to Collinsport After Dark. This is a Dark Shadows podcast with your host, Alan Gallant, and of course the whole host of things that go bump in the night. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the latest episode of Collinsport After Dark.
This is an ABC color presentation.
Well, welcome to Collinsport After Dark. Episode Lucky 13, and today I'm just kind of fronting for our old host Alan Gallant, B for Barnabas and all that good stuff, but he'll be right along in just a few minutes. I'm kind of covering for him here at WOOF 897 on your AM dial, Collinsport's absolute howling boss radio. Sorry. Got a little carried away there. But today's episode is going to be very special because it's going to have all the greatest hits of Dark Shadows and Collinsport rolled into one. All the commercial singles that were issued during the run of the show. This should be interesting, I think, and I hope you'll enjoy it because I certainly will. Meantime, of course, I'll be spinning more of the greatest hit of Collinsport over at WOOF. Anyway, let's go through that sort of quickie thing that Alan Gallant does all the time, with the weird music from back in the 60s and all of that sort of thing, and showing you pictures and all of that sort of thing. Let's do that now, and then when we come back, our good friend Alan Gallant's going to be with you. So, Mr. Music, we're ready, please. Oh, yeah. Well, much thanks to Werewolf Wally of WOOF Radio 897 here in Collinsport, Maine. This is Alan Gallant coming to you from the Christians Memorial Hotel room here in the beautiful Collinsport Inn in beautiful downtown Collinsport, Maine. This is the historic lucky 13th episode of Collinsport After Dark. And I've got a special treat for you. We're going to have all sorts of commercial attempts, some of them successful, some of them not so successful, to cash in on the popularity of Dark Shadows between the years 1968 and 1970, which, of course, was prime time for the show and lots of merchandise and so on and so forth being put out, and music was no exception. Now, obviously, there was a bunch of music put out in 69 and 70 by the Bob Cobert Orchestra. Dan Curtis Productions sponsored their own music, including the best-selling album, Original Music from Dark Shadows, which came out in the summer of 1969. But before we get to that, we got a few other things to deal with. We've got a group called the Young Ideas from Pennsylvania, who in 1968 really kind of kicked off the whole thing. Then we've got, the Charles Randolph Green Sound, with an E on the end of it, and several attempts, some near misses, and one big hit, and with Quentin's theme, on the Ranwood label. And we also have a single that was issued off of the very popular album that I just discussed with the Robert Cobert Orchestra. And that single contained, of course, the narrative version of Quentin's theme, called Shadows of the Night, and also had a recitation by Jonathan Frid on the back of it called I'll Be With You Always. Then after that, there was more Robert Cobert Orchestra stuff, including Angelique's Ode to Angelique, in 1970. And a bunch of people put Quentin's theme, or Shadows of the Night, on their albums as one of many themed songs that they were using, everybody from organ players to vocalists, including Andy Williams. So there was that was going on between 69 and 70. But we want to start off here. I almost forgot Vampire State Building. And a lot of these songs that not all of them, but many of the songs that I am going over in this episode can be found on the 30th anniversary Dark Shadows compact disc. So if you're interested in these, you can go there. And also got most of what we're discussing today on a YouTube list, which I will give the address to in the description, so you can check that out as well. But first of all, I want to start with the Young Ideas, who in July of 1968, during the introduction of Nicholas Blair and the resurrection of Cassandra, and trying to figure out if the dream curse was going to work, and then finally Barnabas has the dream curse, and so on and so forth. That's all happening in July of 1968 on the show. But these teenagers who formed a group called the Young Ideas had decided to put together a sort of a fun little, almost parody song called Barnabas. Barnabas appeared on the Date label in July of 1968 and was the brainchild of a group from Whitehall, Pennsylvania, named at the time the Young Ideas. The Young Ideas were originally called Cal's Kids, and that group was formed and managed by Frank Fashing and Charles Kastelnick Sr. The information that I'm about to give you comes from strangedigs.com, and you can look for the address in the descriptions. Cal's Kids began performing in 1959 when all the members were preteens. In 1960, the group had a successful TV appearance on the Ted Mack Amateur Hour. The preteen group consisted of Craig Kastelnick on lead vocals and bass guitar, Tony Fashing on guitar, Charles Butch Kastelnick Jr. on drums, and Alan Gomer on trumpet, and an unknown lead guitarist. Other members that may have come and gone are unclear. The group cut a single in 1964 called Long, Lonely, Broken Hearted, and the track was co-written and produced by a local disc jockey, vocalist, and legendary performer Frantic Freddie Mylander. So this is a very, very local affair here, this group and also their production at this point. Kastelnick co-wrote and sang both numbers on the single. It's a very rare soul record released on the East Coast, fetching hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars per copy. Our Barnabas can be purchased for much less. After the record was made, the first record, Charles Kastelnick Jr. and Craig bounced around various local groups after Cal's Kids broke up. Now, eventually, Craig Kastelnick formed the Young Ideas with Frank Fashing's assistance around 1966, about 2 years before this record was cut and came out. The band immediately began rehearsing and seeking a record deal. They recorded two sides with another local music legend, Henry Casella, who is known most commonly as King Henry. Casella was a lounge musician who operated his own studio in, get this, Easton, Pennsylvania. Dark Shadows' connection there, as WEST in Easton, Pennsylvania, was the host station for Ron Berry, who was a superfan of Dark Shadows and conducted many interviews with the stars during 1968 and 1969. Anyway, the Young Ideas recorded Casella's tracks Barnabas, and the flip side was called Melody. The single was picked up by Date and was a local chart hit. They were signed to contract by CBS, but nothing came of it. So this group continued on for a little while, kind of locally, before dissipating later on. This particular artifact, however, is the only Dark Shadows related artifact that they have done. And now, since this is from some time ago, I'm going to treat you with a full version of this song.
There's a guy around my girl's dying to meet. His name is Bonnie and he moved here from Transylvania Street. Barnabas, Barnabas, stay away from my girl, thinks you're out of this world, so do I. Acts so cold that you might think he doesn't have a heart. He goes out nights and he lurks in the shadows of the dark. Stay away from my girl, thinks you're out of this world. gay. But once he meets with a girl, they don't ever seem the same. Honey bus, sail wherever my girl takes her out of this world. So do I.
And speaking of obscure, this one is definitely in the running for most obscure. It was released, I don't know if it was ever fully released, but it came out in April of 1969. It's Christopher Love's The Curse Goes On. It is totally about the Dark Shadows television show. And this one can be found on my list of DS45s, the address of which can be found in the description of this podcast. In the meantime, you can sing along with the lyrics of this version and listen to The Curse Goes On.
And the curse goes on. The curse goes on. 175 years ago, on the stormy coast of Maine, from the shadows came Barnabas Collins and started the vampire reign. Fangs and bangs and a big black ring, and Josette for who he cried, and Angelique and her curse of love for a man who never died. And the curse goes on. The curse goes on. Angelique is the devil's child, evil Cassandra of today. Darkened shadows take your mind while the witch is at play. Fangs and bangs and a big black ring, and Josette for who he cries. Angelique and her curse of love for a man who never died. And the curse goes on. The curse goes on. The Cape and Cane and the Nearly Sane are the vampires' stock and trade. The living dead of Collinwood, where a devil's bargain was made. Fangs and bangs and a big black ring, and Josette for who he cries. And Angelique and her curse of love for a man who never dies. And the curse goes on. 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 The curse goes on.
Okay. Even Tom Jennings can see it's not Shakespeare. A bit amateurish and understandable why it didn't catch on as a hit, but still a lot of fun for us true believers in DS. Now that we've indulged in probably the most obscure 45, let's go on to explore the most famous record album release of 1969, which would have been, of course, the Dark Shadows album, the original music from ABC TV's Dark Shadows, featuring David Quinton Selby and Jonathan Barnabas Frid. Now, this album was actually released on July 5th, 1969. And this was a long-lasting, popular sales album that was also a very in-demand Christmas gift at that time. So a little bit of a backstory here. From 1967 through 1968, of course, Jonathan Frid had been the teen king and just overall king of Dark Shadows. And then in the spring of 1969, we had David Selby and David Selby and David Selby. And so the powers that be decided they were going to cut a record album. And this article from the fall issue of 16 Spec, fall 1969, would have been released actually in the summer, probably late July. And some more promotions from September 16 magazine. And here's some pictures of them in the studio. And here's another picture promoting the actual album. The gentleman in the middle was a Philips Records executive, and he's holding a promotional kit that was probably sent out to various record sales people as well as radio stations at the time in order to promote the release of the album in July of 1969. Not to be outdone, Dan Curtis decided that he wanted his writers to write in a little promotion of their own into the actual television show. So, in episode 786, taped on the 23rd of June 1969 and broadcast on the 30th, just a mere few days before the album was actually released, there was a scene featuring Quentin's theme, aka Shadows of the Night, one of the recordings on the album.
Shadows of the night, falling silently, echo of the past, calling you to me. Haunting memory, veiled in misty glow, phantom melody, playing soft and low.
Oh, and by the way, here's a closer look at some of those promotional materials, part of the contents of that folder that we saw in the earlier photograph as part of their promotions for the album's success, which was effective. Around the same time as the promotion of the album and the Shadows of the Night from that album was beginning, Charles Randolph Green had received permission from Dan Curtis Productions to actually make his own version of Quentin's theme, and ironically this would be the version that would become a monster hit, both on the easy listening and pop charts. By the 2nd of August 1969 it reached number 13 on the charts and was a highly successful single. The Charles Randolph Green sound, which was Charlie Green's orchestra, I guess you would say, put that together in the studio, and it was played for many, many years on easy listening radio and probably continues to be played once in a while. Anyway, that was the biggest single hit of any of the Dark Shadows based 45s that were released. The flip side is a version of number one at the Blue Whale, one of the famous Blue Whale jukebox numbers from the show. And both of these songs can be found on the 30th anniversary Dark Shadows CD. These two songs can be found on the Charles Randolph Green Sound album Quentin's Theme. Not only that, but also a version of Shadows of the Night sung by Charles Green's daughter, Robin, is also available on this album. And Charlie Green wrote the lyrics for both Shadows of the Night and also the cut I'll Be With You Always on the ABC Dan Curtis approved album. Weirdly, the original version of Shadows of the Night by David Selby did not do well in terms of sales, but was released as a single. And the flip side of that was the aforementioned I'll Be With You Always. Both of the lyrics sets here were written by Charlie Green with the music by Robert Cobert. Continuing the 1969 releases featuring the actual stars of Dark Shadows, we have I Want to Dance With You featuring David Selby and Nancy Barrett. If you noticed, the first picture sleeve had David Selby's name misspelled, David Shelby. The song I Want to Dance With You was likely released in early November of 1969. There was a sort of a music video promotional on the show again. Episode 873, which was taped on the 14th of October 1969 and aired on the 29th of October 1969, was featuring that song in a dream sequence. In spite of the on-screen promotions, this nice little song did not do well, and the only copies that I've ever run across, and I've had both versions, the David Selby and the David Shelby picture sleeve, both versions have been promotional copies with black and white labels rather than the signature blue labels of the Philips records of the time. In 1989, Bob Cobert's publishing company and record company Media Sound Records, which also published the Dark Shadows Musics Volume 2 through 4, resurrected this song on a picture disc, and it's still highly collectible. Our final 1969 45 RPM cash-in for Dark Shadows, at least that I know of, is the Vampire State Building's rendition of Barnabas. I can't figure out why this one didn't really hit it. I mean, with lyrics like Barnabas, we must confess, we love your pearly fangs and your blood-stained vest. Biting people's necks is your ghoulish desire. Barnabas, you're our favorite vampire. I mean, come on. This could have been a Saturday morning cartoon rivaling the Groovy Ghoulies. But at any rate, this song really didn't quite make it on the charts, but is an interesting piece for collectors of all things Dark Shadows. Once in a while, actually quite frequently, you can find copies of this one on Discogs. And sometimes on eBay as well. The Vampire State Building was merely a group of stable musicians, studio people that probably worked for Roulette in New York City quite frequently. But there you go. That's the Vampire State Building. Again, that's our last 1969 cash-in that I know about. So let's move on to 1970. Well, here we are in 1970, and Robert Cobert and his orchestra have decided to, along with Dan Curtis, to put out Ode to Angelique, which would become the haunting theme of Parallel Time 1970 on the show. In fact, the tune made its debut twice, first as background and then later actually in the storyline. So the first time we hear this is during the transition from Regular Time 1970 to Parallel Time 1970, when Barnabas discovers the Parallel Time room in the East Wing. So this rendition of Ode to Angelique is atmospheric music that appears in episode 969, which was taped on the 5th of March 1970 and aired on the 12th of March 1970. So I'm figuring sometime in the spring of 70 is when this record made its debut.
So many places to hide. No one's been down these halls for years.
Elizabeth! Why can't you hear me?
And finally, the storyline introduction of Ode to Angelique occurs in episode 984, when Maggie is surprising the children by playing the rendition of it, which has been set up by Hoffman in an effort to discredit her. This was taped on the 16th of March 1970 and aired on the 12th of April 1970.
What's wrong, Amy?
Nothing. Nothing.
Quentin, what's wrong?
Who played this record?
I did, Quentin. That's the surprise I was thinking.
What a stupid thing to do!
Quentin! She'll never be my mother. Never.
Here's the Charles Randolph Green sound again in 1970, cashing in a bit on some covers. This is a nice compilation album, and it has two covers of Dark Shadows related music. One of them is Josette's Music Box, and the other one is yet another version of I Wanna Dance With You, covering the David Selby, Nancy Barrett version. Now, one of these songs actually made it onto a 45, and that is Josette's Music Box. It didn't do too well. The only copies I've seen of it have been radio station promo copies. And the flip side seems to be an independently recorded version of Back at the Blue Whale. It's not on either of the two well-known albums that contain Charlie Green's renditions of Dark Shadows songs. Also in this time period, 1969 to 1970, Quentin's theme and Shadows of the Night were extremely popular, as evidenced by Brad Swanson and his whispering organ sound. Also by the artist Orville Thomas, who's doing Quentin's theme, so this is another instrumental. But then, of course, with the lyrics, famous people got together with the song, and this is the album on which Andy Williams does a cover of Shadows of the Night, and his paramour and sometime wife Claudine Longet also at this period did a cover of Shadows of the Night, and of course Mantovani did Quentin's theme as well. Now these just a mere sampling of the covers that were done. Many, many more were done as well. And now as a final treat, I'm going to show you something that, well, although it is not directly related to Dark Shadows, it is indirectly related to Dark Shadows. And that is this particular single. The Vladimir Twist by Vladimir and the Grave Diggers on Melpar Records. This is actually somewhat of a vanity pressing from the early 1960s by a gentleman by the name of Ron Barry Klugman, otherwise known as Ron Barry of WEST Radio in Easton, Pennsylvania, Dark Shadows superfan and interviewer of many Dark Shadows stars.
Hello, my dear. Shall we twist? There's a dance going round and around today. They say it started in the USA. Confound it all, but it started in Transylvania, the twist. So round and up and around and down and down and around and up and around. Go wild with the Vladimir twist. Well, they got a new place called the Peppermint, where all the people who are twisters are sent. I think the twist would really go far if done by old Count Dracula, the twist. So round and up and around and down and down and around and up and around. Go wild with the Vladimir twist. Everybody's twisting, every boy and girl. The twist is a dance that can be done with ease, and it's moving around like it contains disease. The twist. So round and up and around, down and down and around and up and around. Go wild with the Vladimir twist. So round and up and around and down and down and around and up and around. Go wild with the Vladimir twist. Goodbye, my dear. It's been swell.
Well, that was some rockin' good music, don't you agree? Well, maybe not as good as my playlist, but not so bad. Some hits and some misses, as they say in the business. Hope you've enjoyed tonight's episode. It's a kind of a Halloween-y 2025 thing we got going on here today with a little disco. But anyway, Alan Glantz asked me to say goodbye to you, since, he gets a little overwrought when the wolves start howling, if you know what I mean. Yeah, just a little overwrought. So, with all of that, thank you for joining us for this episode of Collinsport After Dark, lucky number 13, and we'll see you next time.